A German colonel stepping from a half-track at dawn near Stalingrad. Frost coating the steppe grass. Pale sunrise illuminating his silhouette. Soldiers behind him scanning the silent battlefield, captured in crisp 1940s black and white documentary style. Close-up shot of icy blades of grass glittering under the first morning light. Boot prints of German soldiers crossing the frozen ground. The horizon blurred by cold wind. A squad of exhausted Wehrmacht infantry advancing cautiously through early morning fog, rifles raised, breath visible, tension palpable in the frozen air. Colonel Hans-Georg von Friedeburg standing still, his greatcoat flapping slightly in the wind, eyes narrowed as he smells fuel on the breeze, distant wreckage blurred behind him. A lieutenant running toward the colonel with urgent expression, frost swirling from his boots, uniform creased and dusty, captured mid-stride in high-contrast monochrome. Wide shot of destroyed Soviet trenches, scattered shell casings, abandoned rifles, and snow-dusted corpses, German troops stepping carefully across the debris. A Soviet industrial fuel depot exterior. Low concrete buildings, shattered windows, smoke drifting from recent fighting, German soldiers approaching with uncertainty. Interior of the first depot, flashlight beams slicing across towering stacks of fuel drums, dust particles floating in the cold air, creating dramatic contrast. A soldier's gloved hand touching the cold metal of a fuel drum, flashlight reflection gleaming on the stamped Cyrillic lettering. An over-the-shoulder shot of Friedeburg staring upward at a wall of fuel barrels stacked to the ceiling, tension and disbelief etched in his face. A panoramic shot inside the depot showing endless rows of Soviet fuel drums, perspective lines drawing the eye toward darkness in the back of the warehouse. Two German sergeants whispering estimates while standing among towering stacks of supplies, their breath fogging in the cold air. Close-up of a fuel drum's stamped capacity numbers in Cyrillic, lit starkly against a dark warehouse interior. A group of German soldiers swinging open a metal depot door, light flooding into the interior to reveal even more fuel drums. Friedeburg standing alone in a massive warehouse corridor, dwarfed by the industrial scale of Soviet logistics, harsh shadows stretching behind him. A wide landscape shot of additional depots outside, rows of squat Soviet structures half buried in frost, sunrise creating long, sharp shadows. German fuel specialists inspecting barrels, taking notes, visibly stunned by the scale, faces lit by a single lantern. A squad of Wehrmacht infantry rolling a fuel drum toward the entrance, straining under its weight, uniforms soaked with sweat despite the cold. A dramatic close-up of Friedeburg's face, lit from the side, eyes filled with both hope and unease as he processes the implications. Overhead shot of German trucks lining up outside the captured depots, engines idling, soldiers preparing for transport operations. A realistic moment of German officers huddled around a field map atop a barrel, planning fuel distribution routes, the cold wind lifting the edges of the map. A soldier lighting a cigarette with trembling hands while staring at the mountain of captured fuel, the flame illuminating his exhausted expression. Panzers parked nearby, engines dormant, crews watching the depots with renewed optimism, frost covering the tank's metal surfaces. A stark image of a Soviet warehouse sign written in Cyrillic, riddled with bullet holes, hanging crookedly on a damaged wall. Soldiers discovering an even larger secondary depot, their silhouettes framed in the wide-open doorway as light spills in. A close-up of a German radio operator transmitting the discovery, his headset frosted over, wires trailing across the depot floor. A raw image of Friedeburg walking deeper into the warehouse, flashlight in hand, towering shadows cast behind the fuel stacks. A panoramic shot revealing the true scale, endless rows of drums fading into darkness, resembling a subterranean industrial canyon. A German NCO wiping frost off a drum to read the label, his gloves coated in ice crystals. A stark image showing the wind blasting through shattered windows, stirring dust and fragments of Soviet paperwork across the concrete floor. Soldiers attempting to count the barrels, chalking tallies onto the warehouse wall, numbers growing rapidly. An exterior shot of a long column of German troops entering the depot complex, the rising sun behind them, creating silhouettes. A dramatic profile shot of Friedeburg standing at the warehouse threshold, staring into the massive inventory, a mix of dread and realization. German soldiers laughing in disbelief at the sheer volume of fuel, their frostbitten faces illuminated by the cold morning light. A somber shot of Soviet equipment abandoned near the depot, helmets, notebooks, rations, hinting at how quickly the defenders fled. A beautifully contrasted image of fuel being siphoned into German trucks, liquid glistening as it pours through hoses in the cold. A high-angle shot of German vehicles preparing for departure, exhaust smoke rising into the crisp morning air. A tense image of Friedeburg speaking quietly to his lieutenant, both men glancing back toward the depot with troubled eyes. Close-up of the colonel's glove tightening around his binoculars as he turns toward the horizon, wrestling with a growing sense of dread. A haunting wide shot, the colonel alone standing among mountains of Soviet fuel, wind sweeping through the empty warehouse, realizing this abundance reveals a far bigger, more terrifying truth about the Red Army's strength.